Hey, what's up? This is DJ Thunderous. I'm here with Cory and Megan from the band Casket Robbery. What's going on, guys?
Hey,
Hello.
So happy to have this opportunity to have you here. Can you tell
yeah, we're
us?
stoked.
Yeah, can you tell us what the band's been up to?
Yeah, recently we just played our first show back kind of since the COVID hit. We hadn't done many shows. A lot of stuff got canceled and
Yeah,
rescheduled. So we actually just played our first show a couple weeks ago. Hometown show. It was awesome, packed and really cool. Like really well received. So yeah, we've just been doing a lot of stuff like behind the scenes, basically, and getting ready for that show
how did that feel
was a
for
big
both?
thing.
Yeah, how did that feel for you both to be back on stage?
It was so great. The first few months through the pandemic hit me pretty hard, and I wasn't. I guess I wasn't aware of how much I really needed that release of being on stage and being on the road. And throughout this 2 years now, it kind of dulled. So getting on stage that night was just a super huge emotional reminder of what we're doing and why and how important it is to all of us. So it was fantastic.
I can imagine. And how'd you both cope with it? I mean, it had to be hard.
It was hard. We did a lot of stuff. Luckily, we have a really, really amazing fan base, and we set out our Patreon, kind of dove into all our social media platforms, and really just cultivated and strengthened our relationships with all of our fans. So we did that. We wrote a lot. Yeah.
Who does the
Yeah,
writing and the lyrics and everything?
I do the writing and Megan does the lyrics, pretty much,
Yeah.
and then we all like collab. It starts with us, and then we collaborate with everybody, and then kind of refine it.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's kind of how that works.
Do you have any ideas when you're writing, or how do you go about it?
One cool thing that I like to have the lyrics first, and then I can get an idea because like our music is very. I try to make it a very visual thing, so I like to have the lyrics and then paint like a visual soundscape around that. I guess you could
Mm-hmm.
say. So a lot of times we'll some of the best writing sessions we have is like we'll watch like creepy movies together, and we have a studio in our house, so we can like jump into the studio when we come up with ideas, and that's like one of our favorite ways to write.
That's really, really cool. And when you're coming up with your lyrics, Megan, how do you do that? I mean, it's got to be so fun.
It's a lot of stuff. Like I kind of the same. That's what is different about us is, or I guess is something that we kind of have cultivated is um, we really love watching horror movies and diving into horror things and TV shows and stuff like that. So I'll just kind of sit around, or I read a lot. So I take little pieces from stuff like, oh, I really like the idea of that or that story. And then I just sit and write and make it my own. Like our recent single, Bone Mother, I was reading some folklore on Baba Yaga and was like, yeah, that is so awesome. And just did all this research on it and slowly kind of tried to piece things together. And that's usually how it happens for me. I have probably hundreds of tiny notes in my phone of ideas that I come up with and little short lyric things that I just throw in there when they pop into my brain.
That's cool. Now, for everybody listening out there, could you give them a brief history of the band and, how you became a band?
Yeah, so we started around 2012, and originally it was honestly just like a recording, like an online project. Like myself and the previous vocalist kind of just had these song ideas, and we started recording them onto my computer way back, way back then in my home studio, and we started releasing tracks. And a lot of our friends like really liked it, and actually we started getting show offers, and we had to turn them down for a long time because we weren't really a band. We didn't have any members or anything. And then we got a show offer to play a big fest thing with Jungle Rot, and they're like one of our favorite bands. So
That's really
we said
cool.
yes. Yeah, it was crazy. So that was our first show, and we just said yes, and we had enough time to like. I just started calling some friends of mine that played instruments and just tried to fill up the spots, and that worked really cool. So it just kind of like kept growing from there. Really, we didn't really set out with any intentions, and it just kind of like kept going that route. So. Yeah, and then from there, just more shows. And I always was in touring bands before, so as things got bigger and bigger, we pushed for to do the tours and things like that, and to keep growing it. And yeah, that's kind of like a brief history of where we started.
That's cool. Now, was your prior vocalist a female or no?
No.
That's really cool. Megan, how do you do those vocals with that voice you have?
Lots of practice. Yeah. It turned out I had just always been drawn to those harsh vocals, and I attempted, in my previous band I did a lot of fry screaming, the more like metal Cory, death Cory screaming, and these gutturals were always so interesting to me. So I took some voice lessons and really made sure I was doing it properly so that I wouldn't damage my voice and that I could still sing. So yeah, it's just been this really fun like growth experience for me to see where I can push myself vocally.
Yeah.
And to make the most disgusting noises come out of myself.
Well, I have to say they're quite excellent. I'm drawn to that, and it's just like,
you.
I hope everyone out there will enjoy listening to your voice because it's pretty cool.
Thank you so much.
The cool thing about it is, when we made when Megan joined the band, I still think some people don't even realize that we have a female, because her voice is so like guttural and just awesome. So
it is, but what I've noticed is like from other bands that I've heard with female vocalists that do the guttural, they do better than men sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, her range is cool. It suits us really well, which is so awesome. Like when we're writing, some of the things she can hit are really cool, and like the layering that we do is really awesome.
Yep, that's really cool. Now, who are some of your personal music influences?
I really love Cannibal Corpse, Lamb of God. Randy Bly was pretty huge for me. Gosh, so much.
I think for me, the big one was like growing up was Megadeth, and I think that one kind of rubbed off on me because of the more the riff oriented music. Casket Robbery is definitely like a riff type band.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of the bands like Children of Bodom, and kind of like the Swedish melodic death metal stuff was a big influence of mine too.
That's awesome. Now, as a band, what are your influences, do you think?
It's
Horror
funny.
movies.
Yeah, it's funny that when we get this question, it's funny because musically, more than musically, we're more influenced by horror and horror movies in general. We've been all of us have these vast musical tastes, so I think that comes across. We get labeled as so many different subgenres because I think we fit a lot of all of our varied influences into those. But yeah, the the biggest influence for the band are horror movies.
I was checking out
Yeah,
your tracks that you sent us earlier, and I'm thinking to myself, it's kind of theatrical, but yet it's kind of black and it's kind of dark, and yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. It's like when we write the music, it's more like how do we create something that's like unsettling or maybe creepy. Um, Instead of like thinking about musical influences. And I think even when we first wrote like the first couple songs, it was more like we sat down and it's like we were like, what do you want to do? And we're like, I have no idea. And then I would just like come up with a riff, and that was it. There was we didn't even set out to be like a death metal band or anything. It was like that's just kind of how it happened.
Well, then you
So-
invited Megan. There you go.
Yeah.
yeah, and Megan and my influences are kind of like musical influences are really different. So
Yeah.
like Megan was saying, it's such a good compliment to have all these mixtures of things.
That's cool. Now, have either of you been in any other bands or projects, or are you still in some?
Yeah, my first band was a like Southern Wisconsin local like metalcore band. I did cleans and harsh vocals. And then right before I joined Casket, Cory and I had a side project where I really started diving into only harsh vocals, and I think that's what transitioned into me being into Casket. But yeah, that's really
Yeah, and for me, I was in Luna Mortis for quite a while, and we did a lot of tours, and we were on Century Media Records, and that
Yep.
was a really cool experience. That's where like a lot of my melodic influences kind of came through, so that was a cool experience. And then from there, I was in various other bands, Epicurean on Metal Blade Records for a little bit. That was really fun. They were still one of my top favorite bands of all time, and I was really stoked that I actually got to play with that band.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, super fan of them. Yeah, and then it's just other bands here and there, like kind of like either fill in or short jaunts with them and stuff.
That's awesome. Now, when you're out playing, if you could have anybody to play on the stage with you or sing vocals with you on the stage, who would it be?
That's cool. I'm gonna stick with Cannibal Corpse and go Corpse Grinder. I think that would be really fun. And then I'm also like I'm super obsessed with Oceans of Slumber right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how that would translate, but I would love to like do something with Cammie. Her voice is so hauntingly beautiful that I think that someday I would love to get her on something.
Hey, Cammie, come on, hook us up.
Yeah.
And if you could play with anyone on stage, who would it be, Cory?
Is it just guitar or
Or
any
whatever you
music?
wanted to do on stage. Have someone to
gosh.
be on stage with you.
That's such a tough question.
You can have one or more. That can work.
Cool. Well, probably the one that pops in my head right away would be Alexi from Children of Bodom.
Mhm.
I know he has passed, but that would be such an incredible energy to be
Yeah.
around. That would be cool. I think it would be cool too. One of my like very first influences was AC/DC, and I like the early versions of AC/DC with Bon Scott.
Yep, Mike
I
is
could
the
be
same
on-
way. Yeah.
Awesome, cool. If I could be on stage with those guys, oh my gosh, that would be killer. I watched some of their early live cuts, and gosh, like they really just crush it. Like
Yeah,
they're so much fun.
we have some of their old DVDs from back in the day, watching their old concerts, and yeah, they're pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Nice. So yeah, I think those would be some of my favorites.
That's cool. So have you always been a vocalist, or you played instruments, or what got you into music?
I've always been a vocalist. I sang in choirs Since honestly, since I can remember, I have played a few instruments growing up. Nothing that like stuck for super long, but Corey attempted to teach me guitar a few years back, but my attention span is nothing. So I can like pick, but that's about it. And my hands are
You,
so small.
yeah, you were actually caught on really quick to picking.
um,
There you go.
I'd
Pick out
love
on
to
the
learn
front porch.
piano.
There you
Yeah,
go.
right. But yeah, just vocalist stuff. I've done choirs and show choir in high school and all of that. So just that's always been my gig.
That's awesome. And Corey, have you had ever played any other instruments like drums, or have you been a vocalist or anything?
No, no, just guitar. I first wanted to play drums, but my mom told me that it was funny. She's like, well, if I guess apparently if you want to play drums in school, you have to learn another instrument to go with it. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to learn how to like play flute and then also play drums, or whatever, or saxophone. I wasn't into
I
that.
could see you playing the flute. Yeah.
I played the flute.
So did I.
But I just wanted to play drums. But I guess in the small town where we're from, there's not really a drum teacher. So eventually, my mom actually had an old guitar laying around, and I kind of opened it and was just messing around with it. And then I asked her to give me if I could do guitar lessons, and then we didn't go through the school. We went through like a private instructor, and yeah, that's it. Yeah, I just always play guitar.
Wow. And I've seen you went through further teaching through high school and college and everything. So that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And has that helped you with the band and everything?
As far as like college and stuff,
Yeah.
in certain ways, yeah. Not directly though. It's kind of that's a tough one to dial down, because I think most of the stuff that I learned for band, doing the band, has just come from like just doing it.
Right.
School taught me how to kind of record pretty decently.
Yeah.
So actually that would probably be the best thing that came from schooling, was just learning how to like have a home studio.
Yeah.
And how to track correctly and things like that.
That's cool. I didn't know if it helped you hear things better, or, have a better outlook on things, or maybe you got to separate the band. Maybe that's what you're getting at. It could be.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, yeah. In that respect, yeah, for sure. Because there's stuff that I learned at school that I probably wouldn't never have thought of. Like how to record certain instruments. Microphones, different microphones. That was a cool thing about school, is like just which microphones to use for which instrument and things like that.
That's true.
But like and then but the band itself, like the business part of it, that I didn't really learn a lot of that in school. So
I can imagine. It has to be difficult. Yeah. It's a lot of work to be a musician.
Yeah. There's just too much. There's too much stuff to really teach in a school.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And your attention level is way different then as well.
Yeah.
So you guys, I know you mentioned earlier you just played, was it a couple of shows, or you just played one show and since the pandemic?
Just one so far. We've got a few more on the books coming up, but yeah, just this one. It was what, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. And we're kind of getting back in the flow of things,
right?
And booking more shows.
Now, have you guys been able to practice over this past 2 years with everything going on, or no?
Honestly, we did not do a lot of practicing as a full band, just because of everything that was going on. So we stuck to kind of like writing remotely.
Yep.
Which I think a lot of bands I that I've talked to kind of did the same thing. So that was kind of our focus, was writing, separately, sending files back and forth. And then we started our Patreon too, which Megan and I are pretty heavily involved in that. So we did that together.
And what does your Patreon involve for everyone listening out there?
The typical, like, you select your tier level, and then each tier level comes with more and more rewards. There's a lot of physical rewards on there. There's a lot of like virtual rewards, like videos and content that way. We do some fun stuff. We do a pizza party every month. Cory and I have done live practices, rehearsals with us here. We've done little acoustic sessions with everyone where Cory and I will just do like covers. I make things.
That's
there's
cool.
there's
Yeah.
quite a yeah. There's a lot of perks on there that are really, really fun.
Yeah, handmade merch. We have a Patreon merch store with exclusive designs.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things that we're building actually is a secret web page, or like basically a website eventually, and it's all like stuff from the history of the band.
Right.
So like I just uploaded like like some screenshots from like an art layout of our EP The Ascension.
Mm-hmm.
And like Megan and I, we went to an old my grandfather owns a old creepy barn and has a bunch of cobwebs and stuff, and we took all these weird photos, these creepy photos for the layout of the booklet, and I have all those old photos saved, so
That's
people get
cool.
to see. Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts of our Patreon is just digging back into the old stuff and like showing people like how we created things.
That's amazing. Now you have a new EP coming out, or is it going to be an album?
Album. Definitely.
How many tracks?
It'll be 10 or 11 tracks.
Cool.
Yeah, and it will include Bone Mother and Hideous on there as well. And that will come out. We're shooting for like probably the midpoint this year, maybe like in the summer.
That's cool, because we played Bone Mother at the beginning of this interview, and we will play Hideous at the end, and then we'll play another shot of From Hell. So you guys are amazing. How can everyone reach you to book shows or just to chat or give an interview or anything they'd like to talk about?
Yeah, we are really, really active on all of our socials. You can go to casketrobbery.com. You can hit us up on every social. We also have a really, really fun Discord server group that we have kind of made this hub for us. That's been really cool. A separate Facebook group. But yeah, we are on absolutely everything.
Now, how does the Discord work? Do you have to sign in and make an account, or do you just go on and it's right there?
Yeah, you have to make an account to get into it, but it's really cool. Once you have an account, you can join anybody's Discord. So, like on my Discord app, I have, what do I have? Like Casket Robbery, a bunch of other bands, Blackcraft Clothing, has like a Discord too.
Yep.
And it's kind of cool. You can flip back and forth and chat with all kinds of different groups of people and stuff.
All right. Well, I'll definitely check you guys out on Discord. I wasn't sure how it worked. Never been there before.
Yeah, it's
cool.
it's
like a chat room.
It is. It's like a chat room, and it's definitely like a learning. There's like a little bit of a learning curve to it. It took me a while to understand what was going on in it.
Oh, geez, I'll be really confused.
Really cool. Now it's really cool.
Well, it's probably just like our website here. Then, when you tune in to get into the chat and things, you have to navigate. It's some navigating, but you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. I forgot to ask if you guys were endorsed by anyone. I know you have coffee.
Yeah.
We are. Yeah. We are endorsed by Blackcraft Cult.
Yeah, that's kind of why I name dropped them.
That's
really
our new one.
Yeah, really cool clothing company.
Awesome.
There's Grindcore Coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So you can grab coffee from us, which is really cool.
Yeah.
We have an artist series blend. Dean Markley strings. I'm trying to think of the others. Vader cabinets. Pig hog cables. Dirtbag clothing.
Nice.
Yeah.
and I think I always forget some, but
I've seen quite a few. That's why I had to ask. I know there's quite a few out there. And I did see the coffee, and I'm like, that's really cool. Now you got to come up with a whiskey.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
that would be great.
I am
Yeah.
into that.
That would be awesome. So is there anyone out there you want to give a shout out to, or anyone you want to say hey to?
Really just all our fans. I say it a lot, but we cannot thank our fans enough for being so amazing. We wouldn't have been able to be where we're at right now, even get through this last 2 years. So we love them. They know we love them. and I just always love saying it.
That's awesome. All right, can you do a shout out for the radio station for us, please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Megan.
And this is Cory
of Casket Robbery, and you are tuned into the Thunderhead Show on MetalDevastationRadio.com,
where metal reigns supreme.
Hell yeah. Thank you very much, guys, and we
Awesome.
look forward to hearing your new album, and we'll touch base soon.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. We really appreciate the interview. This was a lot of fun.
All right,
Thank you
thanks,
so
guys.
much.